Italian Neorealism in Vittorio De Sica films. What is Italian Neorealism? Also known as the Golden Age, where there was massive exposure to the national film movement in the midst of the World War II about stories of the poor and working class. They filmed everything on location and used non-professional actors. They did this to keep the authenticity and the realism of film to reflect what was going on during the World War II and aftermath. One of the pioneers that contributed heavily to Italian neorealism was Vittorio De Sica. He was born July 7th, 1902, in Italy, died November 13th, 1974, Paris, France. He got his experience in film by being an actor in 1917. He had a small part in a silent film. In the 1920s, he performed films and musicals doing a tour with a theater company in Italy. During the post-war peak of neorealism, he became one of the most accredited and well-known directors for that time, with a couple famous pieces like Shoeshine in 1946, in 1948, The Bicycle Thief, and in 1951, Miracle in Milan. Roberto Rossellini, he was born Rome, Italy on May 8th, 1906, and died June 3rd, 1977. He was another person that contributed to the era of Italian neorealism, following kind of in the same suits as Vittorio De Sica. Roberto Rossellini entered the film industry as a sound engineer, so he started off behind the scenes just to kind of know the ways around the film industry, how to conduct and do everything before he made his big debut. In 1937, he made his first documentary called Afternoon of a Wildflower. During the 1941 through 1943 was his formative period, basically him finding his creativity to contribute to the Italian neorealism, and finding his niche to be one of the pioneers that, cultivated and made it what it is today. Um, for his directing career, he had three propaganda films: Stromboli, Europe 51, and Journey to Italy. In 1945, he caught his big break, being named the father of neorealism with his first international film called Rome Open City. He stuck to the Italian neorealism formula with natural setting and local residents and a mix of professional actors. But he stuck to the keeping the realism and the authenticity of what the Italian neorealism era was known for, contributing that to Vittorio De Sica's first example. Another pioneer that contributed to the era of Italian neorealism was Luciano Visconti. He was born on November 2nd, 1906 in Italy, and he died March 17th, 1976. He was an open homosexual. In 1935, he became an assistant for Jean Renard, who developed his sensitivity and social political issues through film. That was Luciano's first experience on getting into the film industry and learning the ropes so that he could have his own way that he added to the Italian neorealism era. Um, in 1942, he got his big break, that helped give him recognition for his directing career for a movie called Obsession. It gave him momentum and it gave him a reputation as a good director. So, what's the characteristics of Italian neorealism? It represents social disorder, extreme poverty, and non professional actors. So, basically, it's a reflection of things that's happening in real time. People going through things in poverty, can't pay their bills, their clothes are not always clean, the real interactions between other people in the community. Nothing's really scripted, it's everything that's mostly organic during that time. And during the Italian Neorealism era is mostly during the time of the World War II time to show what's going on during the time, the aftermath after the World War II, and how people, got through it. Here is an example from Vittorio De Sica, Miracle in Milan, for an example, so you can see the realism and the authenticity that he signified. So that just showed that basically everyday interactions that was not really scripted, and it was within the community. Like those locations that they were at were filmed during that time. It wasn't nothing set up in the studio. It was like everything is happening in real time and everything's authentic, where everybody's really interacting and nothing is scripted. Um, Another example that I have is Luchino Visconti with his famous obsession.
We found Sprizzy through a Google search, pretty much. I was looking for a way to market our YouTube video.
Si mangia qui? Ti domando se si mangia qui. Guarda, io pago, eh?
Va bene, ma si mangia di là. Aspetta in sala che te lo porterò io.
Buono. Hai a che fare con quel pancione là fuori, tu?
È mio marito.
Fortunato di avere una donna come te, che cucina così bene.
Non sprecarti. Non sono una cuoca io. Aspetta nella sala.
Don Remigio, buongiorno Bragana. Beh, quando ce la facciamo questa rivincita al braccio di ferro? Un'altra volta, un'altra volta. Stamattina ho una passatina d'anitre che se Santa Lucia mi conserva la vista. Le voglio impalinare una mezza dozzina. Sì. No, Giovanna, io vado a Codigoro.
A Codigoro?
Sì, per un affare di premura.
And that's just to show you like how they explain the different transitions going through different scenes, but not really using too much editing. Like everything was just kind of on that one cut, real time scene. Like the interaction is like every day. In real life, people during the time of the Italian neorealism era, it was people dressed in those type clothing with that's got holes, and their hats on, and they just was presented in poverty. You know what I'm saying? And then you had the wife that was just attending to the duties, and a husband that was trying to find work or working and running back and forth or just trying to make it work or living in harsh conditions. This is Roberto Rossellini. This is a trailer for Stromboli in 1949.
O mi sposi o me lasse. Beh, perché ride? Che c'è di ridere?
Che pazzo, tu non sai niente di me.
So that was basically a trailer of the movie around that time before it came out. So basically you seen different scenes and clips of basically real things that happen in that everyday life that they was trying to portray in the movie. During the time, even now, people, still get married, kids still running around, swimming in pools, people having ceremonies or having things together. Like they try to make it as relatable to real life as possible. And I mean that's what they did. And they use people that aren't professional. They use everyday people to give that authenticity in these scenes, from the kids to the woman to the man to the interactions to the scenery. Everything is real. It's nothing that has to be propaganda or has to be made. It's just there and they just film. So that's what basically them scenes were based around. Okay, so now we can compare that to everyday, not everyday, modernized um film, like how the Italian Neorealism era is now used in Hollywood or modern films today. So this is the Pursuit of Happiness trailer with Will Smith, and you're going to be able to tell the similarities from the Italian Neorealism era.
I met my father for the first time when I was 28 years old. When I had children, my children were going to know who their father was. Yeah.
Chris Gardner was doing his best.
We don't need two.
We don't need one.
Maybe next quarter.
It's possible. But his best wasn't enough.
Man, I got two questions for you. What do you do and how do you do it?
I'm a stockbroker.
Stockbroker. Oh. Hey, I'm gonna let you hang on to my car for the weekend, but I need it back for Monday. Feed the meter.
I need the rent. I can't wait anymore. I need you out of here in the morning.
You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
Because I'm getting a better job.
Let me see if I can find you an application for our internship.
Did Mom leave because of me?
Mom left because of Mom. You didn't have anything to do with that. There's no salary. No, I was not aware of that. My circumstances have changed some.
Dad, where are we going?
I don't know. Last year, we had an intern score on 90% on the written exam. He wasn't chosen. It's not a simple pass-fail. You're not quitting on the shed, are you?
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
Jay says you're pretty determined.
Where are you going? Go to the hospital. I'm in a competitive internship at Dean Witter.
He said you're smart.
This is impossible. I can do it.
No, you can't. No one can.
Good, good, Papa.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves.
So this basically showed that they were going through everyday struggles, just like how Italian Neorealism era showed that the poverty and the struggles that the people went through on a daily day basis. That's what the Pursuit of Happiness kind of reflected, but just in the modern day, outside of the World War II era. And there was some similarities with being around in the interaction with everyday people to the interaction with the hardships that he faced throughout his life with his son. Some of the hardships people faced during the Italian Neorealism era, it showed the hardships that they faced in poverty, to eat, to keep clean, to be clothed, to stay up in hygiene sometimes. So they both reflected the same struggles. They just changed the way how it was projected. So I'm gonna show you another film. It's Friday. This is basically everyday interaction with somebody, but African Americans living in the hood, well, poverty, and how they interact with one another.
Why you bringing up old shit?
Fred, I left my purse in your house. Can I go inside and get it?
Yeah, come on.
Oh, where Greg at?
Fool. Oh, he in the house.
So basically, this just showed how that they really relied on using the scenery and the place where it was at rather than building the whole scene. Like they filmed at the location. They stuck to the authenticity of the story. Like people really lived in neighborhoods and people that were around every day. Like that's how it is modernized today. People live in these different neighborhoods. They interact the same way and sit outside the same way, converse with each other the same way. So they try to keep it real, just like in Italian neorealism, the interactions were the same as in talking to one another on the daily, conversing with each other, same way here in modern day. People conversing with each other outside, sitting on the steps, the way how they talk to one another, that's really how they talk. So it kind of show the similarities. You can see the similarities from the Pursuit of Happiness and Bicycle Thieves. You can see this is Will Smith right here, with his son in 2006, sitting near the bus station, waiting to get on the bus to go to his job interview. And in Bicycle Thieves, you can see, the little boy sitting down. They showing signs of little that they are in poverty and that they are facing hardships. In Will Smith's Pursuit of Happiness, you could tell the same thing. It's the same type of setup and similarities within just the screenshot from both of these different films at different times that you can see that is similar or is put into modern day films. They centered it around it to give the relatability and the realism for other people to connect to the story, to reflect what's going on in their everyday life. This is just some more Italian neo-realism that is just was displayed during the times of everything. And this is what is displayed as like modernized. Friday, them sitting on the steps, them going out to eat. People really do this. And then you see things in real time and real locations. You see that if we go back, you see that it's a reflection of poverty. It's a reflection of stuff happening at real times or being filmed at real times during that time. And these are my sources.